My name is Tracy Cook, and welcome to the podcast series Victim to Victory. This series gives a voice to those that have overcome obstacles in all forms, that dare greatly to share their real stories. Amazing humans that have seen hope and risen above those adversities to become victorious, that now support and inspire others to do the same. Now, I've got a very good friend here. We have spoken. We like to play to win, and it is Gary Martinez. Welcome to Victim to Victory.
Thank you so much for having me on, Tracy.
You're very welcome. Now, I'm so looking forward to this because not only have we spoken about autism and autism awareness before, and I do have a copy of your book here as well, because Gary is an author. He's a father of two. He is an autism father. He is a fitness trainer. He is an author. He is a course creator, and or with everything to do with autism. He is a great advocate. He has got some practical, relatable advice. He has got some stories that will absolutely amaze you. We'll be sharing where to actually connect with Gary because he is inspiring. He's changing communities. He is passionate. He is a very good friend, and we really support world changers and inspirers and empowerers like Gary on the Victim to Victory series. So, Gary, where does your story start?
It was a really hot summer day, and we were at the park, and there was a lot of people there. We were actually at the playground, and I remember I was walking around the playground, getting my little activity on, and then I sat down for a moment right in front of the playground on a bench. So I was just taking a little break, and I can hear everybody playing, all the kids. And then all of a sudden I heard a scream, and I was like, that's Monica, that's my daughter. I was like, oh my gosh. So I knew what was starting to happen for her. It could have been the crowd. It could have been something in that environment that triggered her to feel that way, where she was starting to lose control of her behavior. So right away, my instinct, my little inside voice was like, you need to go up there right now and help her, because usually when she has an episode like that, I'm supposed to give her some space so she can kind of wind herself down. But on this day, I was like, you can't do that. She needs your help right now. There's a lot of people there. It's just going to escalate. So what I did was my little butt got off that bench and I ran up that playground, because it was continuing to escalate, where Monica was not only screaming, but she was starting to stiffen up her body, which meant she was about to create some self-harm to herself. So she started to hit on herself, and she started to say a lot of negative words. So she was escalating with her voice verbally, where she was screaming things, a lot of negative talk to herself. And then she was saying some negative talk to me, which usually happens to the one that gives them the most support. They're going to take it out on you. So it's like, no offense taken. But she was doing both of these things together, which means at any second now, she could possibly just start throwing herself on the ground, and it can get worse. So there was two things that I wanted to do that I learned, that I was like, okay, I know it can help her out this time, and I need to go against the grain and not just give her space, but I know I can help her get out of this situation. So if she was starting to escalate with her voice, screaming and those sorts of things, I had to match her voice. So what I wanted to do to help her out was talk about one of her favorite movies, which is the movie Frozen. And there's the two sisters, there's Anna and there's Elsa. So I figured if I can talk about one of her favorite movie scenes, that can be like a shift in her mind to distract her to now focus on me. So I put on my little acting dust, and I start to do the scene where there's Elsa, and there's this evil guy in the movie named Hans, and he wants to put Elsa in this dungeon and keep her there like a hostage. So I go into character. I'm like, Monica. So I raise my voice, to her level, so I can grab her attention. I'm like, Monica. I was like, oh my God. I can't believe that Hans wants to put Elsa down there in that dungeon. She didn't do anything wrong. She just didn't know how to use her powers. And then he tells the villagers that she's like some kind of monster. And that part right there is real important to Monica, because she defends her characters in her Disney movies, because to her, they're real. Like, they're every day, they're real to us. So I grabbed her attention. And then I went to another scene where I was like, Monica, Anna, the sister, Anna, she ran after Elsa because Elsa got really scared that nobody liked her. So she started to take off and go into the mountain. But her sister knew that she wouldn't hurt her. She just needed some help. She needed her sister to be there. So I grabbed Monica's attention, and she started to like, she wasn't screaming. She started to listen. So I was grabbing her attention because I was talking about something that's dear to her heart. And she started to listen. She still had like an angry face. She did stop the wanting to hurt herself physically. And then I looked and I saw on the grass that there was a soccer net. And I thought of another movie. And I also thought that we need to do some type of physical activity, because physical activity for her, like an exercise, also helps her calm down. So with the combination of those two things, that was my plan that day to get her out of this meltdown that was starting. So I was like, every time I say something like, oh my, wow, she leans in. I was like, oh, wow, Monica. She's like, what, Dad? And I'm like, do you see that soccer net over there? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, that's Ursula. And that's the evil octopus from the movie The Little Mermaid. And I was like, she's grabbing Ariel, the mermaid. And I was like, she's trying to take her voice box, because in the movie, if she has Ariel sign this paper, she has permission to take her voice box and marry the prince. And that's what Ariel wants to do, is to marry the prince so she can, I believe, turn human or something like that. So that's another really important scene in movie that Monica liked at that time. So I was like, Monica, I want to go help Ariel out. Do you want to go help her? And Monica's not really a runner. She was like, yes, Dad. So we held hands and we ran to that soccer net, a good 20 so yards. We ran over there. So, Ariel is invisible, and that's our world. That's how we play and connect. So at that time, I saw my son and my stepdaughter at the time. They were riding bikes, and I was like, come here. And I said, huddle up. I was like, Monica's having a meltdown. I'm getting her out of it. Pretend that this net is the tentacles from the Little Mermaid movie. They already know that movie. And that she's grabbing you too. So I want you to purposely fall down, start laughing, ask Monica for help so we can get her to move. So we're all over there. We're falling down. We're laughing like, Monica, help us, help, Monica, help. She's got my legs. She's got my arms. And when she comes, and so Monica was coming to our rescue. She wanted to rescue us. She was in the scene. So she's grabbing one of us, and I'm like, fall. So we fall down on purpose, and we're laughing, and she starts to laugh. So now her mind is shifting. So she's laughing, but now she's getting that exercise. So she's having to pull us up. She's having to squat down, and she's pulling and using all the muscles in her body are just lighting up like a Christmas tree. And now she's super happy. So she's rescuing all of us, and I'm like, Monica, help. And she grabs me, and I fall down on purpose, and she's laughing, but she's squatting. So she's doing all that activity. So in a few minutes, we're done. She rescued us. I'm like, Monica, thank you. You saved us. You saved Ariel. She's safe. Ursula's gone. So she's laughing, and then we stand up, and Monica grabs my hand, and she's like, Dad, let's go. I was like, where are we going, Monica? And she was like, let's go back to the playground. So we walk back to the playground. She's back to Monica. Monica's Monica. And she gets on the swing, which is her favorite thing to do, her favorite activity that she loves to do. And she starts swinging. And then we start singing a song. So she's back to herself. And then all of a sudden, because she's a really caring and loving person. So like a couple of minutes later, I hear this. And I saw what happened. There was a little kid, had a little fall. It wasn't bad because the ground part was really soft. The parents went in, they helped out their kid. But Monica heard that and she was like, Dad, what's wrong? What's wrong with that kid? I was like, oh, Monica, it's okay. He just had a little fall. But the parents were right there. He's okay. And she was like, okay, Dad, I just wanted to make sure. And we went back to our merry ways. So that is how we got out of that meltdown, and it turned her around. And it was just doing two things that I knew that was important to her, and that's what helped her out.
And when you're going through the meltdown, as you explain it, obviously it's taken a few practice sessions, as you will, to get to see what Monica does respond to and what she doesn't, and how you can actually make those shifts. And because she's such a caring, empathetic girl as well, it just adds that additional layer. So how would you mind sharing with our audience today, Gary, how did you come up with this technique to be able to stop a meltdown at the park?
It goes back to our early elementary years, where when we went to school, like preschool, kindergarten, those younger grades, those were really hard for her because at that time she was learning how to talk because she couldn't talk in the beginning. And one thing that we did was we went to school like 15 to 20 minutes early before it started, and we would go to the playground and we would do activities to help her body get organized and prepared, because it also connects her brain. So what we did was, for about a good 15-20 minutes, we would swing. That's her number one thing, is we would swing. And then I would kind of orchestrate it, where I would go into one of her favorite movies to like naturally get her to do some other things, like oh Elsa wants to, there's the castle, there's Arendelle, the playground. Elsa wants to go up to the top so she can see everybody in the village. So I was like, let's go up there. So that will make her start to run up. And then we would go down the slide, and I would just talk about some other part of the movie. And then she would also climb on the slide. So she's getting all this different type of necessary activities to help her body out and her brain. So when she goes into school, she's more organized, because in school, there's different smells, there's different noises, there's really bright lights, and there's lots and lots of people. So it was a combination of doing that pretend play, something that she likes, to get her interest in her mind, and then combining it with activities that kind of seals the deal for her, so she can have more of a fluid day. And sometimes during those early elementary years, I would have to actually go into the school like before lunchtime, because lunchtime's like loud and all that kind of stuff. I would have to go in again, and we'd have to hit that playground. And sometimes I would take her dolls. I would take that Elsa doll, I'll take that Anna doll, whichever ones, and we would play, and it would prepare her. To me, it's kind of like, as a fitness trainer, it's like doing a warm-up before you exercise. You're more prepared for your workout when you warm up for it. So for us, it's doing a warm-up of those two things right there that helps her out, whether it's going to school, going to the store, an appointment, or whatever it may be. It helps her, give her an overall better day, because we're getting that necessary activity in.
And as a family, because you've got another child as well, and you've got a stepson, was it, or a stepdaughter?
At one time she was my stepdaughter, but I'm no longer that relationship, but I have my son Christian.
Yeah, that's right, Christian. I couldn't remember his name. I'm so sorry. So how does Christian fit in with when Monica's kind of having a meltdown, or when she's feeling challenged? How does he jump on board, and what tools and resources does he draw on to help out in the family unit as well?
He does the same things that I've been mentioning. And the thing is like they both have a different mother. So I had to coordinate the parenting time. So when I got that coordinated, a while back, he wanted to play with his sister, but he just didn't know how. So he was like, Dad, I want to play with Monica. And again, he's like Monica. He has a big heart. He cares about people and animals, and he wants to help the world and make it a better place. And he's younger than Monica, but he's very mature for his age. So I said, okay, buddy, here's what you need to do. Watch how I play with Monica. And when you're ready, jump in. So that's how we made that happen. And then because Monica has this vibe, she has this energy that she can read people. So that gives her a deciding factor is she wants to allow you into her circle. If you earn her trust and all that and create that bond, he did that no problem. And he took it to another level where now, like when something does happen like this, like we're talking about, he made another pretend character for her. At that time, he liked this movie called, what is it, Skull Island or whatever, with King Kong. And Monica was interested in that because he played with her. He played with her with all the different things that she liked to do. So now she wanted to go into his world, which is a big step for her. And he created that character. We call him Brother Kong. And he's actually has nothing to do with that Kong character, but that's his name. But he's a very sarcastic, funny guy where we pretend that we're doing the voice that we made for him. And we do that. And that's like one tool that helps make her laugh. But he does all those other things, like he'll go into like certain scenes that he knows that she likes, and he'll do some he'll ask her to do some activity that she also likes, whether it's hopping on the ball. So he knows what to do. So he's a big help and a good brother, and her best pure play partner, because when he's gone, she misses him. She talks about him like, I miss Christian.
Oh, that's so lovely. That's so lovely. And especially that sibling bond as well. It's kind of a little bit different with dads and daughters to that sibling bond. So I'm so glad that he's brought in like a new character and really taken her into that room with him with Brother Kong. That sounds absolutely wonderful, and how much fun for her as well. Now, can we touch on, if you don't mind, because I'm really intrigued, because you are a course creator and you are an autism advocate, you're an autism dad, and you're a father who has just come in leaps and bounds with sharing everything that you've learnt with such dedication and just such passion. What led to doing a course for autism, and what does it involve?
So it's that I don't want parents to go through that struggle that I went through when I found out my daughter was diagnosed, because I felt really alone. I had no answers. I didn't even know what that word was. So I was hopeless, and I felt like a failure. So the purpose of the book and in the program, which is taking it to the next level, is to help our parents out with some resources. And we're sharing like a lot of our experiences that worked. So it's like a combination of like a lot of these different types of activities and why they help our kids. And then we also go into the nutrition world, about how that plays a big role with us, because if you're eating a lot of things that are helpful for you, it can help with your mood and your energy and so forth. But it's also reverse if you're eating things that you're not aware of that can be harmful, which actually was one of our causes that would cause meltdowns at different places for her. So we had to learn a lot about that. So I go over a lot of that kind of stuff right there, and how even stretching is very mindful and peaceful, and just very calming and relaxing for our kids also. And then at the end of the program, I give like a roadmap, like an example, like a program, like we'll say play activities, whether at the playground or at home, kind of like a little example program that you can, you know, do with your kid, but also the parents knows the child the best. So these may be like just little sparks because everybody's different. It can give them a spark to use that creativity of what's important to their kid and use this program to help them figure that out for them.
And it is just such a unique journey as well. And my grandson's got autism, so and he's only young. He's only 4, nearly 5. And Monica's in her teens almost, isn't she?
She's 16 now.
Yeah. So, she's in her teens and young womanhood as well. So that's trials and tribulations, even without the autism factor between dads and daughters, no doubt. But I really love what you're doing in that space. And I think with sharing those details, and this is what I love about you, Gary, as well, because you're just so transparent and you're so honest about your journey and sharing what you've been through, and just that practical relatability of somebody who's new to the kind of the spectrum, coming in going, I don't know what this is. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know how to handle this. There's so much information. I just want to talk to somebody who's been through kind of what we're going through and then adapt that to what we're going through, to our own unique story. So by sharing your story and those practical relatable tips, and especially as a fitness trainer as well, you're adding that health, you're adding that mental health, you're adding that diet and nutrition and these practical things. I love how you said you stopped a meltdown at the park, because a lot of people would have just looked around, seen somebody crying and screaming and hitting themselves, and probably judged, probably turned a blind eye, probably didn't know how to handle the situation. And if you're a parent new to the spectrum, no doubt you don't have that experience yet. That's a muscle that we have to build. So my big message, and I know this is one of your messages as well, is just lend a helping hand and give someone space to heal, because you never know what somebody is going through. And I think the world needs hope more than ever. So just not judging, just accepting the situation for as it is, and giving them space or lending a helping hand. And I know that this is through your book, Living Life Through Their Eyes, which is our journey together on the autism spectrum. It's a really brilliant book. I've read it. I got some wonderful practical advice, and I think it is an evolving story, and you never stop learning. And as Monica is in her teens going into adulthood, no doubt there'll be changes there as well, and changes within the family unit. So you're bringing people together, inspiring them in these communities with all these practical resources and tools and step by step and genuine help and concern. So you, my friend, are a world changer. And I where are you at now? What are you doing now, apart from all of this wonderful things that you've got going, and juggling all these hats at the moment? Where are you now?
Well, I'm every day I'm always on social media sharing these kind of tips and stuff because it's kind of what you said earlier. It's just you don't know who's going through something like this, a parent that feels alone, but when they see a video that you show up, even on the days like when you don't want to, that could be a day that that parent needs that tip for their child. And it's really rewarding because sometimes I get those personal messages of thank you for, so and so and doing that. I'm also taking it to another level besides doing my social media, sharing our experiences, is that I'm doing a lot of webinars now. So I'm teaching going a little deeper with sharing some things that could be helpful for parents. So I'm more into like the education space.
No, I think that's a wonderful resource. And what's the biggest message that you would like to share with our audience today?
I'm going to repeat it because you were spot on and you said it earlier. It's just about, having acceptance for our kids. It's okay to be different. And it's also really helpful when you see somebody out there, a kid going through something, and not to judge them, but like you said, to ask, is there something I can do to help? Because that parents, like you said, we don't know what they're going through. They can be having like a really rough day, but if some person just asks them, hey, is there something I can do? Whether that's like telling if there's a crowd there, can you give us some space right here for this kid? Whatever that may be, that's helpful. And you never know, you can actually create a friend from that when somebody helps and they see that they're a part of the process to help stop that episode a lot sooner. Then that's how you can make a friend, and that's where we get to be face to face and kind of share our story with people so they can have a better understanding of autism. And then it repeats from there. Then that person has that knowledge and they can share it, and then it can kind of continue like that. It's just being open-minded to lending a hand, having acceptance, and to share that, because the more we can share the message, share what different people go through, have autism, the more we make this world unite more and be together, because that's what the world is missing now. It's a lot of, it's just that connection and understanding each other and accepting each other.
100%, very well spoken there. And I also love on your book as well is the bond flavor between these, the bond flavor these two have created is a fun show for anyone to be a part of and rally for. And that is on the expert back cover of Gary's book, which ties together everything that we've kind of encompassed here today in this discussion. I hope that gave you some practical tips, some relatable advice, and a different perspective of what you can do to be part of the way forward in people that are advocating for autism, because you never know what somebody's going through. Just lend a helping hand, be kind, and connect with Gary, because he's changing the world. Jump onto one of his webinars. I'll be jumping onto one of his webinars to learn more as well. And he is definitely changing the world. Thank you so much for being brave to share your story. We wish Monica and Christian all the best, and we'll be sharing where to connect with you. You are very appreciated, Gary, and you can find the Victim to Victory podcast series on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and our Facebook group. So please subscribe, share, and comment. Please leave Gary a review so that his message creates even more of a ripple effect, like he said, out into the world, and help be the change that the world needs now more than ever. And let me leave you with a message of figure out who you are and do it on purpose. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.